Hello everybody and welcome to WarCrafters for August 11th, 2024. Yes, it's kind of a time machine episode. We're actually making up for missing the weekend. Mayoral duties kept me from doing it on time. But that's okay. Today we're going to be talking about, it's Season 1, Episode 20. Today we're going to be talking about old school RPGs, sci-fi sports, story-driven roguelites. Wow, that one was tough to say. The best twist on Souls-like, retro city builder, realistic swimming, a new RPG with 5 million players, Balatro and Mahjong meet in a demo, studios yet to release a game, and open-world pet systems. I am Merwat, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to WarCrafters.
Yeah, the number of neurons aren't actually as high as it should be. I should probably dedicate some more resources, I suppose. But you're a sentient AI from the future, so you probably don't need more. It's just visually.
I don't know. I could probably use some more.
Yeah, like me and coffee. I could use some more. All right, well, let's get into today's show. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com, so go over and become a citizen. But if you're watching this, or you are, if you're watching this over on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell and leave a comment and like and subscribe and like and subscribe and tell a friend and like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, follow us there. That would be great too. I'd like to do more live streaming, and I stream to both Twitch and YouTube under the ohmTown moniker. It's also a podcast and a bunch of other stuff. So again, everything is powered by ohmTown.com. I have cinematic. Ooh, that was a hot S there, even though it was a C. Is it a hot C or a really warm C versus a hot S? Hot C, warm S.
I guess it could be a hot C.
Guess it could be a hot C or a hot S. Anyway, I'm going to get my S moving. The first article that we're going to talk about is over at Best Old School RPGs. It says RPGs are a dime a dozen in the realm of video gaming, coming in all manner of forms, from popular JRPGs such as Chrono Trigger to CRPGs like Fallout, the original Fallout. These games have origins in tabletop RPGs, often featuring character creation and progression that mimics the games like D&D. I just recently picked up Shadow Shoopadoobadoop. What's it called again? Shadow
Dark. Like Shadow Hunters?
Shadow Dark, the tabletop RPG that won 4 Ennies, including Game of the Year. I decided to pick it up because I'm considering doing solo dungeoneering or tabletop role-playing. But see, like role-playing, when I was doing role-playing, wasn't taking on a scripted persona and doing some emo kind of, I don't know what, the stuff that I've been seeing recently on a lot of live plays. But I just want to do the dungeon crawl kind of a real-time adventure, live, camera down on the on the table,
not scripted.
Yeah, unscripted, everything. Yeah, and then just having a good time with the audience. So it would be fun to do that, I think. And I wanted it old school. D&D 5e is just overwhelming, and Pathfinder is getting there too. And Shadow Dark RPG apparently kind of hits it out of the park in it being clean and fast and no 2 hour combat, which actually is just representative of 6 seconds worth of combat in real time. So anyway, it's kind of one of the reasons why I chose this old school RPGs, best old school RPGs. But these are computer RPGs. Older RPGs had a lot going for them in spite of their often rough-edged visuals, though many pixel art RPGs have aged tremendously well in this regard, and due to the genre's infancy, there's plenty of creativity on display. So Game Rant put this article together. Harry Ted Sprinks put this article together. The highlights of this is old school RPG design elements are often lost in modern games, but there are plenty of new titles that pay homage to the classics. Games like Dread Delusion, Lunacide, or Lunacid. It's Lunacid, I guess. Sea of Stars offer unique experiences that blend old school charm with modern gameplay mechanics. For fans of traditional RPGs, exploring these newer titles can bring back the magic of older games while still enjoying modern enhancements. Again, Harry Ted Sprinks wrote this article over at Game Rant. So let's go through it real quick. I've never played Dread Delusion. It says it's a first-person RPG in the style of old school Elder Scrolls. The graphics certainly represent a mishmash of, I don't know, there's some like stylized weapons and buildings in the background, but then the characters look kind of...
There's like 2 different styles at least.
Yeah, it's got a little jank there, but it's 2 years old and has an open critic review of 77. Then they talk about Lunacide. I guess it's Lunacide. Lunacid, right? If it has an E, then it would be Lunacide.
Lunacid, maybe. It's probably Lunacid.
Lunacid? Maybe it's Lunacid. This is from no, man, that actually almost broke my head. It made it look like it's from Software, which no. Anyway, it's a first-person RPG that plays like old school From Software. Has an 83 out of 100, and it was launched in 2022. Takes heaps of inspiration from classic From Software RPGs such as Shadow Tower and King's Field. Lunacid is a first-person RPG with a dense atmosphere and an abundance of charm. Then there's Sea of Stars. That actually got some pretty good reviews. Critics recommend it for 97%. It was launched last year, August, around this time, 2023.
That's really good reviews.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's kind of like Pokemon style kind of graphics, but a little bit higher resolution. So it's like 2.5D. There's some dimensionality there, and it's isometric. Retro style JRPG with beautiful pixel art is what they say in the article. It's closer to Chrono Trigger, but it manages to stand on its own as a JRPG with a modern look and feel. So it's one of the games that I actually considered buying, but I decided not to. Then Underrail, a Fallout-inspired isometric RPG set underground. That came out in 2013. That's their number 3. Number 2 is Caves of Good, an old school roguelike RPG with a unique setting.
Is that one like a top-down?
It's border like a text. It's closer to let me see if they actually name it, because my brain isn't working on this. There's an old school RPG style game that's just massively popular at all times, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. Goodness, I hate it when my brain does this. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Sorry, folks. It's usually in the top 10, but let me see, maybe in top sellers. I'm trying to find it over on Steam, because that's where it's housed as well. Yeah, I can't find it. Click on it. Dwarf. Might be Dwarf something. Hold on, let me see. Dwarf Fortress. That's it. It's closer to Dwarf Fortress than any other like high graphics game. But it says it's Caves of Good also features a careful blend of procedural generation and handcrafted content, as well as a massive amount of build variety, allowing for incredible replayability experience. So it's pretty I don't know if it's a 4X kind of style game like Dwarf Fortress is, where you have to babysit a lot of things, but let's keep moving. Moonring is another one. Their number one is what they have it listed as, an entirely free and wholly unique tile-based RPG. This came out again about a year ago from Fluttermind LLC. Moonring's intricate open world is perhaps its greatest strength, but its turn-based combat will likely be gripping for fans of traditional roguelikes. Moonring is also entirely free, so it's almost certainly worth trying out, even for those who remain skeptical. It's closer to Ultima Online, or Ultima in general. They actually mentioned that in this. It gives you some text data as you move about the world and do things. So it looks like fun. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I mean, it's free, and you can't beat free. There's an opportunity
unless
cost.
there's a lot of in-game purchases or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, wait, this is WarCrafters. So let me do this real quick, since we're at the end of the first article. If you type in WC, WC in the chat over on Twitch, it'll pull up all of today's articles for WarCrafters. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to do this show, and then we're going to end the stream, and then we're going to retool and do the
Non sequitur news.
Yeah, there you go. Non sequitur news for August 12th, 2024. Okay, let's keep moving though. The next article is over in the WarCrafters channel on ohmTown.com. It's also WarCrafters is this show, and it's a podcast. Wow, we're everywhere.
It's layers of WarCrafters.
Yep. The best sci-fi sports games. Sports games are easy to get into and allow a group of players to have a great time as they compete against competent, I guess it says, opponents. Compete against competent. Is there some gatekeeping in the first sentence of this thing? Competent
Sure
opponents?
sounds like it.
I mean, you can have a great time if everybody's complete nincompoops about the game, as long as you're good-natured about it.
Plus, you might win.
Yeah. God. Anyway. And we actually did a big talk about that because there was a study done about skill-based
Like leveling or something.
Ranking, like competing, skill-based placement. And people stopped playing when they were just destroying people, and people stopped playing because they were being destroyed. And so people really liked skill-based matching, matchmaking. And so when they turned off, or when they turned on skill-based matchmaking, people started playing it because they wanted to be able to compete. And they didn't want to just get trounced by somebody that's way better at it. So I think that might be one of the reasons why World of Warcraft got rid of zones that are a certain level. Because somebody would come back to the early realm and like just destroy all the stuff. And then people didn't have anything to level up with. I don't know. I don't know. I've always hated that though. I like going to the earlier realms to complete, or regions to complete certain tasks. And I didn't want to have to sit there and grind through a pig that has 70 levels to its name simply because I walked into that zone, for crying out loud. Anyway, color me lazy. Like I like to level up and then I'll come back and do the quests that I failed to do because I was leveling up so fast through the system. Anyway, sidetracked, right?
Maybe. Did you ever see the things behind the scenes? Like on the YouTube video that we were watching?
What do you mean? Which one?
Like where you could get kind of the behind the scenes access to certain areas.
Oh, that kind of thing. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I used to do that kind of stuff. But that wasn't really my goal. Is I was kind of a completionist in WoW, and I wanted to go back and get all of the quests that were ever possible in a zone. But I ended up taking a long break, but with the War Within that drops, I'm going to end up starting over from scratch, even though I've got a level 70 character. Anyway, it's been a long time since I played. So many popular franchises simulate real-life sports and do a great job at the same, becoming some of the most valuable gaming IPs in the process. However, players will always love the idea of playing unique sports games like tackle concepts with a touch of futuristic goodness. So as I stumble over this paragraph that we aggregated, let's transition over to GameRant.com, and Ritwik Mitra put this article together. The highlights are: Rocket League shines as a top sci-fi sports game with rocket-powered cars scoring goals in epic fashion for thrilling esports action. Basically, Rocket League is you drive around and hit a ball with your car into a soccer net. Yeah. Then there's
that sounds like a kids show into a game, but I can't think of the name of the show.
Is this in the future there, Sentient AI from the future?
No, it isn't, but I can't think of the name of it.
Well, while you struggle to figure out what you're talking about, I'll move on with what I'm talking about. Rollerdrome offers a unique retro future aesthetic, challenging players to survive and thrive in a I have to do it. Survive and thrive in a deadly skating shooter competition. Hey, you know, that actually reminds me, there were older games. There is what is it? Scott Johnson from Frog Pants Network does a play retro kind of thing, and they talk about retro games. And one of them they just recently did is this, I think, Rollerdrome, or something similar to it, where you would skate around and do certain things, but it was like old school, like 80s, 90s.
Oh, right. And that's Blaze and the Monster Machines that I was trying to think of.
Oh, right. Wow. You had to do a deep dive to find that again. Unreal Tournament's
I did.
Gory arena shooter gameplay is in a dystopian future setting, delivers intense matches and strategic combat for players. No? Is that too much? I don't know. You can let me know.
No, it's not too much. You should have some ASMR in every episode.
Oh boy. So they have, there's a few, they have 5 listed here. Rocket League is number 5. Rollerdrome is number 4. This is actually from 2022, but there's other games that are on skates where you're supposed to tag things and find things. It's older though. Unreal Tournament, that's from 1999. That's their number 3. Knockout City is number 2, which has some really awesome graphics. It's basically a full contact dodgeball. Oh, it even says it, a popular sci-fi dodgeball game with a compelling retro futuristic aesthetic. I
mean, that seems like that could be fun.
Is that spelled?
Plus, it doesn't sting as much.
That's spelled wrong, isn't it? Isn't it AE?
It is.
Come on. I don't know. Look, maybe AE took them all. Anyway, number 1 is F-Zero-GX, a celebrated entry in a futuristic racing game with a great story mode to boot. That's from 2003. So a 21-year-old game is their number 1. And it's only on GameCube, so you're kind of up a creek.
Yeah, I mean, who has a GameCube?
Yeah, the only thing is my blockhead. Moving on, next article's over in WarCrafters, 8 best story-driven roguelike and roguelite games. Just because roguelike games routinely reset a player's progress doesn't mean that they can't tell a good story. Quite the opposite, in fact. When roguelike game really investigates the kind of stories that take place in gradually more knowledgeable loops, they've produced some of the best stories in modern games. So I know of a couple of these, I'm pretty sure. Alex Daniel Reed, which I don't really play these roguelikes or roguelites, mainly because I hate... Okay, so there's certain things. I hate my progress being reset. It's very, 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 very frustrating. And because I don't have a lot of time, I don't want to have to stop and my world is reset and then I start over again. I like progression. But some games, they can get away with it because the loop is quick. And you don't lose everything. So you end up with a roguelite. So let's see what they talk about. The Binding of Isaac, Hell Hath No Fury. Whether it's the sparse cutscenes delivered between zones, the environmental storytelling of each zone, the clues towards the narrative some items give, or the structure of bosses, it's hard to imagine what roguelike storytelling would look like without the Binding of Isaac. It actually has a really good rating, 87 out of 191 is the critics' recommendation.
Wow.
In online, I'd say that people generally who like roguelikes and ended up playing this, they've liked it too. So it has a mature 17 plus because it has violence, blood and gore, and crude humor. I guess we're R because we too have violence, blood and gore, and crude humor. It's a kid's show. Anyway, the next one, their numbers. Wait. Yeah, so there's 8 here in this list. The last one was 5. But Binding of Isaac and then Hitman 3. It's pretty obvious what that one is. Cult of the Lamb. You actually play a lamb and you start a cult and you actually have to defeat demon bosses and sacrifice people. And if you're a streamer, then you can actually name the cult members after your stream audience and then apologize as you sacrifice them. Dun, dun,
Oh
dun.
no, this is getting rather dark.
Prey Moon Crash. Time loops have never felt more existential. This is from Arcane Studios, aka, and Bethesda. In an already terrifying and existentially fraught game like Prey, the Moon Crash DLC uses its segmented setting from the main gaming to tell a quick but powerful story about the technological hellscape of the Prey universe and the broader state of roguelikes themselves. Then Darkest Dungeon. This one is really awesome. Great voices, great storytelling, great world building. It says loops keep the stress down. So things get even more interesting as lore tidbits are handed out upon successful adventures into the game's various dungeons, slowly painting a picture of its decrepit and horrifying world. Though it's not a barrel of laughs, Darkest Dungeon clearly has the roguelike narrative bona fide. It's bona fide.
It's getting darker and darker, I guess, as you go through the game.
What's funny though is that there is a game called Dark and Darker.
Okay, that's odd.
Yeah, and it can get confusing when you have Darkest Dungeon. So Dark and Darker, Darkest Dungeon.
We need some naming.
Yeah.
Can't think of creativity.
Consulting, maybe. I know of
Yes.
a business that you can do. Oh, never mind. Anyway, return to the source of it all. This game is really interesting. You play a character who basically loops through time on a planet that has a massive, well, to me, it seems pretty massive. I never played it, but I watched people play it. And there's a loop, a time loop, basically. Every time you die, you get a little tidbit of information, I think, if I recall correctly. But you basically keep on going through this time loop and it's real. It gets kind of surreal. So maybe they talk about it here. One of the most prominent but big budget experiments in the roguelike genre, and certainly one of the best roguelikes on the PS5, Returnal has a lot of expectations to meet. Luckily for us, it has met those expectations and then some by spending a considerable resources delivering not only a brilliant game mechanically, but also the most AAA roguelike stories to date. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's hard to explain what it is, but it's basically a first-person shooter. Horror sequences. You kind of loop around your own life in this kind of weird world setting.
It sounds different, at least, which is always a good thing in gaming.
It has like a MC Escher gone evil. What is the guy from Aliens? I forgot it. The dude's inspiration for the source inspiration for Aliens or Alien. Oh, I'll just keep.
Is it a book?
Well, it's an artist, Giger, H.R. Giger. I was gonna say H.R. Puff and stuff, but that's from the 60s. Anyway, Hades. It says hell's never been more fun. This is a fan favorite as well. Critics' recommendation is 99%, so it must have been the Russian judge that like gave it a 4. Because what in the hell, man? That should be 100.
It was 4.999 or something.
Yeah, pretty wacky there. Anyway, the top critic rating is 94%. It actually has a lot of fun. It follows Greek mythology and is Hades' story of a wayward son trying to escape the underworld is filled to the brim with interesting characters. And then Inscription, a meta-fueled masterpiece. It too has this superior rating, 97%, 86 out of 100. Oh my gosh, I learned something today. You have to remind me at my meeting today. There's a revelation that was brought to my attention from somebody else, and it's frightening.
Mysterious.
Yeah, and I can't talk about it because I don't know why I'm bringing it up during the show, but it's almost like we have a sister show or brother show or a person, what do you want? A parallel show called Non Sequitur News, where I just kind of off the beaten path.
So maybe we should be in there.
Yeah, we'll get there later tonight. Anyway, Inscription is a blast to watch people play. You may love playing it yourself, but it says rest assured that no matter how experienced a gamer is in the roguelike genre, they've never played anything quite like Inscription. The game is a genre-bending, metatextual, ARG-filled masterpiece, takes a player seriously, delights in surprising them, and tells a sincerely profound story that will stick with every player for years to come. These are
some pretty glowing reviews.
Yeah, jaw-dropping statements, like this is the kind of thing. Like there are talks that I give where at the end of them, people are like, well, why do I even bother? This is like massively world-changing stuff. That's the kind of writing that these statements are making, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Exactly. If anybody doesn't love it, they're out of whack.
Yeah, and I actually
based on a review.
Yeah, I really like Inscription. It's along the lines, I think, like profound writing and storytelling, world building as Disco Elysium, which again is really amazing. Let's keep moving though, unless you have something to say about it. I'm going to end up getting Inscription now that I've read that, because I've watched other people play it, but I've never played it. So this next article is over in WarCrafters, over at ohmTown.com. Go check it out. Oh, if you want to get the podcasts, you hit !pod, and that will give you all of the podcasts. And if you want all of the show notes for all of our latest shows, you type in !show notes. Eventually, I'll get this working over on YouTube as well, but ohmTown right now is only connected to Twitch. Anyway, this next article is over in the WarCrafters channel. We aggregate about, maybe 100 words or so. But the title of this is "This New Souls-like has the best twist on the genre that the author has ever seen, but it sadly flubs the landing." Oh. So, Deathbound is set in a grim sci-fi future where religious fanatics and science freaks are locked in a mysterious verbose conflict. In this harrowing dystopia, many doors only open from one side and ankle-high objects can obstruct passages. The art style is an interesting blend of noir, neon-lit sci-fi, and fantasy elements that put the author in the mind of Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. And while it's undeniably a Souls-like, it breaks the genre's tradition of stoic quietude. All right.
So this sounds interesting.
This is a very chatty game with a labyrinthine narrative that doesn't shy from a spectral flashback. And maybe, you know that there's a dinosaur that had the ability to talk?
You mean it made a sound?
No, it had language. Did you know the name of it?
I do. It's Thesaurus.
It is a thesaurus, yes. And that's what was tapped to write this article. Sean Prescott over at PCGamer.com consulted the thesaurus to write this. It has some really big words in it. I love it. Anyway, Deathbound's party system involves neo stance switching, and when it works, it's great, but often it doesn't. So they only have this little picture on here, but maybe they have something else. But Deathbound, like I said earlier, it's set in a grim sci-fi future. A new Souls-like must have a twist, and Deathbound has its party system. This doesn't mean that you're roaming around the neon-lit ruins of Aggregated City with 3 friends in tow. It means that you can swap between a total of 4 characters on the fly. This is actually just coming into vogue online, so I have just recently seen a couple of people playing this. I don't want to really go through this article in its entirety, but as you play the game, there are certain things that really only are maximized in their efficiency, performance, behavior, action, etc. by switching to the other character so that you can accomplish the feat.
Do a lot of games allow you to do that, though?
No, not really. Not on the fly, and this one actually does. So it says each character has their own play style and is satisfyingly distinct. Their favorite is Mamdale, I guess, whose hand-to-hand combat is leavened by a generous parry window and flexible maneuverability. I'm actually getting kind of tongue-tied. They usually navigated the areas as the versatile Anna, whose rapid-fire dagger rips and tears are complemented by ranged bolt throws, though Haudai was a useful sniper, albeit at the mercy of a heat meter, which ensures that spamming magic projectiles and buffs will result in literal overheating. The author says that the person explodes, thankfully not fatally. So that's basically it.
Normally when I explode, I try not to do so fatally.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, talk about blowing your top. So yeah, this is a pretty cool style of game, but I don't know that much about it, so I don't really want to talk too much about it. But it is kind of a dungeon crawl, if I remember correctly. So have at it, folks. Go check it out. Put it on your wish list. Actually, let me see something. It's $26.99 right now over on Twitch, and you can buy it now, 10% off. There's an Ultimate Edition too, but I don't know what it is. And that one's $31.49. It's a single player game, but you actually can play as 4. Huh, it's pretty cool.
That's neat.
Moving on. Oh, and I could actually play this single player, but one extra player for each of my personalities.
Well, but are they trying to usurp each other, like substitute themselves? That could be difficult.
And the noise in my head is deafening. So, WarCrafters is where the next article is. The maker of this beautiful retro city builder wants to include events like bank robberies, police chases, and zombie outbreaks. This is the isometric city builder Metropolis. It says Metropolis 1998. Back in January, it shot to the top of their wish list because it lets you design and decorate every single building in your town. They say that's awesome. You know what? I'm going to add that last game, Deathbound, to my wish list, and then Metropolis.
So how many will that make that on the wish list?
425.
Okay.
Metropolis has a demo. It's marked as coming soon. So it says that's awesome that you get to decorate every single building in your town. It's also oozing with pixelated charm. It is an isometric pixel view kind of a game. Closer probably to what is the game? Zombie. Hold on a second. Project Zomboid. It's a lot like Project Zomboid in its pixely style. So they say it's oozing with pixelated charm thanks to the chunky retro graphics, making it feel like a nostalgic throwback, but with modern features. The article is over at pcgamer.com. Christopher Livingston is the author, and the deck statement says, Metropolis 1998 may look like a throwback city builder, but it's cooking up some pretty advanced features. Project Zomboid doesn't have like living stuff in it though. I mean, it has zombies walking around trying to eat you, but it doesn't have like moving cars and stuff like that by anybody else.
I mean, you can't dodge zombies and cars at the same time.
Of course you can. Like Frogger. So in exciting news for the city builder fans, the demo of Metropolis 1998 was just updated to include 5 whole months of new features. So there's lots more to play with. What's really got the author all worked up is the development roadmap packed with features that are planned for the 1.0 launch and some really interesting aspirations that developer Yesbox Games hopes to include post 1.0. So everybody, by the way, for it to get discovered, kind of like us, you have to like and subscribe, post a comment, let people know about it. But putting it on your wish list actually helps it out tremendously. So be sure to do that. So they say, as for the updated demo, it includes new animations, more variation in vehicle color, basic terrain modification, potato graphics mode, which lowers the resolution, I'm sure. New activities for your simulated little citizens, like taking lunch breaks at work and more. And then they have a link to patch notes for the new demo, which they really recommend you download and try. Not the patch notes. Download the demo. Grammatically.
You could probably download the patch notes too.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a link, but the way that that's written, right? Here are the patch notes for the new demo, which I really recommend you download and try.
Right, it sounds like you might be downloading patch notes.
Congratulations. All right, moving on. Next article is over in WarCrafters Best Games with Realistic Swimming. If land allows players to explore in 2 directions, water adds a whole new vertical dimension to explore thanks to diving mechanics. Even though not all games make swimming as part of their gameplay, it's a fun inclusion that sometimes helps mix up the mundane land traversal, much like stepping in a puddle and not realizing how deep it is. That's not what it says in the snippet, but Ahmad Rafiq over at GameRant.com put the article together. Games like London 2012 and Subnautica prioritize swimming mechanics to create realistic experiences. Titles like Abzu and Grand Theft Auto 5 showcase beautiful swimming animations for players to enjoy, and water in games adds vertical exploration, and realistic swimming mechanics can enhance immersion. Realistic swimming mechanics can enhance immersion.
I don't know where to go from there.
Sploosh. So their number 8 is London 2012, the official game. Number 7 is Stranded Deep. Impressive swimming animations and realistic looking water. That's always a win, especially if you're talking about something having to be stranded deep. Water should probably be very important. Then Abzu.
Yeah, I would say so.
Provides a beautiful scuba diving adventure. Oh, I've been asked to facilitate a scuba diving experience, I'd say. Today, I was asked. Yeah, I'll explain it later. Anyway, and it's quite interesting. I might actually take them up on the offer. But anyway, Subnautica, a scary yet beautiful underwater journey. You're entirely underwater all the time, and you can run out of air really fast. And it actually, if you're, what do they call that when you're afraid of water, like being underwater? It's not like aquaphobia or something like that either. It's some weird. Anyway,
let me see if I can find it.
oh, thalassophobia. People with
I found aquaphobia, which I know is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's like being afraid of a glass of water. Thalassophobia, I think, is like being immersed in water or something like that. Fear of drowning or something like that. So as a beautiful planet, 4546b it's equally scary and daunting. The protagonist of the game, Riley, is a survivor of a spacecraft crash. All right. Who's stranded on a water-filled planet with very little land cover. So, number 4 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 3 is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which is supposed to be really good. Like, some people, there were other games, what is it called? Skull and Bones, I think it's called, that came out. And people are like, oh, it should be just like Black Flag. But it didn't. And it wasn't. Some of it was, but it kind of fell flat apparently. Then number 2 is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And then their number 1 is completely, oh, there it is. The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, which gets rave reviews, 95%, 93 ratings.
Do you think that swimming in these games is as relaxing in real life?
I suppose you could get into it. Yeah. If it's ultra realistic or just realistic and immersive and you get into the game and you really like the game from end to end, this would add to it. It's kind of like a person who's really into the game and then it adds the dynamic of fishing. You mean like I don't like fishing in the real world anymore. When I was younger, I did, but I was like, now I'm like, yeah, I got to spend time with my dad fishing. So it was part and parcel to just living life. But nowadays I'm like, meh, I don't even,
right.
I personally don't see the value in spending hours waiting for a hook to land in a fish. And then you have to do something with it. And, yeah, I'm all for sushi, but anyway. Yeah.
You want Dave the diver to be out there, but you don't want to be like
fishing,
the fisher or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll let
Dave the diver go out and get the fish and prep it, and I'll just hang out in the bar. Thank you very much. Oh, and that reminds me, man, there's so many things that I need to talk to you about. Okay. Anyway, it's been an interesting day. All right. We have to do it. We have to take a trip. Let's move on. The next article is over in the continuity report. This new RPG already has 5 million players and is totally free. Sword of Convallaria has surpassed 5 million downloads. The title is credited with being a love letter to the beloved Japanese turn-based and pixel art genre and features both a single-player narrative and many choice-based branching storylines, and an online mode that sees players forming guilds from mercenaries to protect the lands of Iria, a mineral-rich country with magical resources that have drawn the attention from dangerous outsiders. Those over-tourism. Not in my backyard. Glenn Bunn over at Screen Rant put this article together, but I'm not sure why it has the Steam logo and not the game logo, but all right. Oh no.
Oh no.
I've never seen that before. I hope that's not something that's going to happen again. Anyway, it just launched 4 days ago or so, maybe 5 days ago. Hold on, let me see if Sword of Convallaria.
It launched on August 1st.
Oh, July 31st actually was its release date. But everybody's
well, then the article's incorrect.
Yeah, that's incorrect. Look, you should let me see the rest of it so that I can actually talk about it. Anyway, fantasy tactical RPG revitalizing the beloved Japanese turn-based and pixel art genre. Collect and train a roster of mercenaries, customize your squad, and use your own strategy to save the nation of Iria. Journey Journey through a world of plot twists with every choice you make will reshape your destiny. All right. Moving on.
Is that what happens when you play that game?
Yeah, I had to filter that phrase. I was about to say I rubbed my mic. So this new roguelike crosses Balatro with Mahjong, and even just the demo is proving a grave threat to my free time. Not my free time, but the author's free time over at PC Gamer. It says, here's an idea for you. A single-screen roguelike based on an old gambling game where you engineer impossible feats of luck to earn money that you can use to buy items and packs to rocket a point multiplier to obscene heights. Sounds like the kind of pure video game concept that you could pick up for a few minutes or an entire day as if it was lab grown to release as many endorphins as possible, much like COVID was lab grown and released into a wet market. Oh no.
Too soon.
It's never a right time to COVID-19. So Baxter Birchall over at PCGamer.com put this article together. One of the year's best games crossed with one of history's greatest? Sure, why not, says Baxter Birchall. Okay, well, I'm kind of on board with this because I like Mahjong and I like Balatro. I actually have Balatro. I have not purchased. Well, actually, I might have a Mahjong game or two. What's it called? Do they say? Where's the name of it?
ohmTown. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
So they say, sorry, what's that? Balatro? No, I'm talking about Atenjo?
Oh, it probably pronounces the J.
Atenjo?
Yeah, something like that.
Aotenjo, a Mahjong take on this year's explosively popular poker roguelike. So, there is a demo of it. And you can add it to your wish list, but it's not available yet. I'm going to download it right now. So, yeah, the demo obviously is free, but so it says if you've played Balatro, a lot of Atenjo will be deeply familiar, but the author has put in enough time into the Steam demo to be reassured it's not just a copycat, smartly integrating some of Balatro's just one more run mania without sacrificing what makes Mahjong so special. Atenjo manages to surprise and even delight a madman who's obsessively plays every Mahjong game under the sun. So can't get too into this, but yeah, it's basically Balatro using Mahjong. But I don't like saying that because Balatro was kind of an accident. The person that put Balatro together wanted to create a game and created it and had to learn about poker because they didn't even know
that was that game, right?
Yeah. So brilliant, by the way. I mean, it's a lot of fun to play Balatro. So if this is anything like Balatro, then I'm on board. But yeah, it's Mahjong, not cards. You know what? Executive decision. Moving on. The next article is over in WarCrafters. Active developer studios that have yet to release a game in the 2020s. The next generation of gaming began in 2020 when the PS5 and Xbox XS series were released. While it's hard to get a hold of these consoles thanks to factory delays due to the pandemic, the industry... How old is this article? They've got to have fixed that. You have to be able to go and get a PS5 and an Xbox.
It's 3 days ago.
Yeah, I know, but is somebody in a... do I just not know? I'm not a console gamer, so...
Wayne, maybe you can't get these versions, but you can get other ones?
I guess. The article's over at Game Rant. Tristan Jerkovich put the article together. The highlights are that PS5 and Xbox Series launched in 2020 with factory delays due to the pandemic. Some big names like Sony Bend and Sora Limited have yet to release anything new for these consoles. Major studios like Quantic Dream and The Initiative are working on highly anticipated projects. So let's see. Sony Bend, from Spies to Zombies. Gone through several names over the long history of the PlayStation consoles. For example, they were known as Eidetic when they made the Siphon Filter series. Their last game was Days Gone in 2019, and they haven't put out anything yet beyond updating Days Gone to work better on the PS5. But that wasn't a full release, a re-release worth noting.
How often do game studios normally come out with games, roughly?
It's hit or miss. Honestly, it really is. I don't think that there's any real schedule. They do updates, and when something is waning, they've been working on 15 different things behind the scenes, and one catches fire internally, and then they test it with some internal testers, and they go, oh, this is the shiznit, let's go. And then they do a push and they make that game. So it could be anywhere from a year, depending on the size and scope of the game, all the way up to like 8 years, 10 years later. But they've been, like Nintendo, they've been just squeezing that market. And there's new people that come on board and they're like, oh my God, I got to play this game. And it's enough to sustain the business model, because why would you cannibalize some other game if this one is paying the bills so well?
Right, exactly.
You just have to keep updating your code and graphics and whatnot to match the current iteration of technology. Otherwise, you're going to release, a grainy hot mess into a world with 4090s and suffer the consequences.
It'll look like 80s graphics or something.
Exactly. Then Sora Limited, a legend in the fighting game community. Sora Limited is the company that Masahiro Sakurai set up from HAL Laboratory to specifically make Kid Icarus Uprising, and it became the studio responsible for Super Smash Bros. Games with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate being the studio's last release in 2018, and that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, behind the scenes, they were updating that game until 2021, with the last major character release being Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So, then Compulsion Games. They haven't done anything. Microsoft bought them in 2018. So,
are the video game workers or writers on strike right now? Maybe not on strike. Maybe just
voice actors are. I think voice actors are. I don't think writers are, but I think voice actors are. Yeah. So in 2023, Compulsion Games is. Apparently it says their next game, South of Midnight, was announced, but who knows when that's actually going to kick off. Gen Design is number 5. I'm going to move a little bit faster through these. Monolith Productions, from Lords to Lasses. In 2021, there was a teaser announcing the company was working on a Wonder Woman game with just a CG model of the titular heroine. I need to put a sign up that says days since last use of the word titular.
But you might have to do like hours or minutes. But I like the sign.
True. Yeah, I just like a tear button on a scale, right? Just mash it and it goes back to 0. Which is really kind of funny, because I went to get CO2 from the local gas cylinder
CO2 supplier.
Yeah, I got a guy. And they had a days since, but the transaction took so long, I had to filter out a comment like, hey, you really should change that sign from days since last accident, because it had like 3,000 days on it. And it was a digital thing. So like they were serious about tracking days since last major incident. And I was just, I'm telling you, they charged me twice and canceled it twice because they forgot to remove the thing from pending inventory into inventory. And so they billed me for something that wasn't in inventory yet. So they're like, I can't give it to you. And I'm like, oh God. So they reset it. And I was just about to say, hey, maybe you should change that days since major incident to 0 because that transaction was shite. Anyway, but everybody was good-natured about it, and so we had a good laugh. And they challenged me to remove a sticker from the floor that was like pandemic related. They're like, you see that mat over there at the door? That thing I can't keep down. But that, which was supposed to be temporary, I cannot pull off the floor. He goes, I will buy you a drink if you get that label off the floor. And I looked at it and I'm like, no, keep your money. Because it looked like it wasn't going anywhere. But whatever it was, I want that adhesive. Anyway, number 3 is Irrational Games, Ghost Story Games. Number 2 will eventually load. Come on, Arc. Quantic Dream, from creative adventure developer to a publisher. Detroit Become Human internally is, I think, their last game. They have published a couple of games, including Under the Waves in 2023 and Dustborn, which will release soon, apparently. Publishing is not quite the same thing as developing, though. So where is Star Wars Eclipse? Because I guess that was also announced.
Well, right. We sometimes see these announcements, and then years later, we finally see the game. Yep.
And then their number 1 is the long-awaited return for Joanna Dark from The Initiative. It was founded by Microsoft in 2018. Their sole purpose was to make a new Perfect Dark game, and the last new one of those was 2005, Perfect Dark Zero for the Xbox 360. The rebranded Perfect Dark sequel was teased in 2020 with a recent trailer being released in 2024. Crystal Dynamics is apparently co-developing the project, which I thought Crystal Dynamics was like some business package. Why do I? If I remember right, Crystal Dynamics was like some HR package or something. I don't remember.
I don't know. The first thing that comes up is the game company.
Anyway, 2 studios trying to create one vision has not always worked with the past. Although Activision has made it work with Call of Duty series for over a decade now. Yeah, I guess we'll see. You know what? Moving on.
What?
Next article is over in the WarCrafter channel. Open world games with the best pet systems. I love having a pet. One of my favorite characters in World of Warcraft is a hunter. Whenever I can play something that resurrects zombies and has them follow me around like a Death Knight, I'm there. Any game where I have a pet, I'm all over it. Yet, I don't like Pokemon. Why? Because of Nintendo. Yes, I'm picking a fight with Nintendo.
So much for that sponsorship.
Yeah, we're not going to get any Pokeballs. I'll probably get kicked in the Pokeballs. Anyway, open world games with the best pet systems. Animal companionship in video games is a popular trope that reflects the bond that so many people share with their pets. It's no surprise that tons of video games incorporate animals as pets in some way so that these bonds can become part of a player's in-game lives too. Anyway, article is over at Game Rant. Antonia Haynes put the article together. Yeah, I'm really into that. I really dig having like a pet. It's just a lot of fun. I don't have to clean up after.
And it's so much easier, right, than real life.
Don't have to necessarily feed it, although in many you do. So Grand Theft Auto 5, you get Chop the Rottweiler. In Baldur's Gate 3, Scratch the Dog and Owlbear Cub. Dragon Age Origins, you get the Mabari Hound. In Red Dead Redemption 2, you get a bunch of horses. In the Fallout series, you get Dogmeat the Dog and Rex the Cyber Dog. In Metal Gear Solid 5, you get D-Dog the Wolf and D-Horse, the Andalusian Horse. Andalusian. Number 4 is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You get bears, wolves, lynx, leopards, lions. I actually have this game, but I think I played it for 4.5 minutes.
Wow, that's not much.
Yep, I crushed that. Far Cry series, you get a range of different animals across Far Cry Primal, Far Cry 5, Far Cry 6. There's a little wiener dog that's missing his back legs, so it has wheels.
Oh, goodness.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Good. I'm gonna keep moving. Pal World, you get all kinds of pals. And of course, Pokemon. My nemesis.
You know what I didn't see in any of the pets is something like turtles or axolotls. I know axolotls are in Minecraft, but
they're not really pets in Minecraft. Like all of them,
correct.
you kind of have to, other than like a cat, I think. Or can you get wolves? I don't know if you
they
can.
might have added that.
I don't know if you can get them as actual pets, but cats for sure you can get as pets. Anyway, yeah, I think like more games need to have more domestic style pets. And then I really do like hunters in WoW get like really fantastical pets that they can use and control, and you have to feed them and all that kind of stuff too. But I want more. Like I want more. I want fantastical style. Like I want to be able to breed them too, and like make certain like fantastical creatures and end up with like a dragon or something. I don't know. Although I think dragons are seen as being sentient and all that kind of stuff.
So then they can't really be a pet, I guess.
Yeah, because they'll like talk to you and say, "I'm gonna kick your ass." Anyway, you know what I'm gonna do? I am going to say good Mayor Watt and bring us back to the WarCrafters front page. And right here under Creative and Maker is WarCrafters, because basically WarCrafters is all about entertainment, games, building worlds, even writing, and then including it in your game or something like that. You know, it's a lot of fun about first-person shooters, real-time simulation games, RPG games, gaming discussions. And eventually we'll extend it over to like streamcasts and stuff like that. Streamcast is streaming. It's an old school term, but anyway, I like netcasts. That never took off either.
Whoa, that's old school.
Yeah, I'm old. Anyway, that is it for today's WarCrafters. We're going to take a little bit of a break and retool for tonight's non sequitur news, and then we will be back. So thanks for hanging out for the August 11th, 2024 episode of WarCrafters. I am Mayor Watt, and that is a visualizer for the Sentient AI. And the voice you hear is the AI from the future. This is for the podcast peeps.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for WarCrafters. We'll have another episode of that next week, but stay tuned for today's non sequitur news.
And I have a feeling that the week is going to go by fast. So be sure to like and subscribe, follow us, download the podcast, tell a friend, send a smoke signal, light the beacons. I have